Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually read your payment processing statement? Not just glanced at the total deposit, I mean really read it, the interchange fee, the monthly minimum, the PCI compliance charges, and statement fees. If you like most restaurant independent owners, the answer is probably never. And that's costing you thousands of dollars every single year. Welcome to the Restaurant Profit Coach. I'm Al Kanbar, and today we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most overlooked profit leaks in restaurant business, what you are paying to run your POS system and processing payment, and whether you're getting ripped off. My guest today, my special friend, Robert Corral, Senior Sales Executive at Square for Restaurant. Robert has spent his career helping food and beverage operators modernize their tech and more importantly understand why they are actually what they are actually paying for. The conversation is not sales pitch, it's profit audit. Let's go on. Robert, before we get into the number, give our listener your background. How did you end up in Square and what drew you specifically to the restaurant side of this business?
Well, first off, thanks Al for having me on this morning. Um, really appreciate it being asked. But yeah, no, Square, believe it or not, has been my final journey in the last 14 years plus of restaurant tech. I started my career at Groupon on the restaurant team there in 2013. Um, from there, I went on to launch pre-IPO at Uber Eats, from 2017 to 2019. And once we went public, just like most people, I thought I knew it all after seeing all that fun data and working with restaurants day in day out for 6+ years. That I did my own startup in Ghost Kitchen virtual restaurant space with a partner here in Chicagoland. I'm based in Chicago, Illinois. After doing that for a couple of years, started consulting with a couple of startups. One of them happened to be in the point of sale space. Took me down to Florida. Started working with food halls, multi-location groups, and then that's where Square found me early 2021 during the pandemic as a consultant, and I got referred through a friend of a friend. And once I went through the process, I never thought I'd be back at a big corp like Square, but I saw what they were doing, really helping those SMB restaurant operators, individual operators at that time. And they just made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I've been here since March of 2021, 5+ years, going on my 6th year.
Wow,
So
amazing.
yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but you can say that maybe I'm a little psychotic. Working with restaurant and restaurant owners is my passion. My grandparents owned a restaurant as I grew up, and I was a runner back in the day.
Amazing. So you have the background of hospitality already in your blood.
Yeah.
And during the restaurant National Restaurant Association, we also sat down at the show, and I saw you're talking to independent operator every day. I want to ask you, what's the most common reaction when you actually show them what they are paying for their current POS and processing setup?
Yeah. It's a little shocking, I think, because most of them take it for face value, the rate that they were told or given, right? Like this is what you're paying, and so forth. But once you really dig down on a merchant service statement, and even as me, Al, as a former operator, I could have told you we randomly went from Touch Bistro and merchant service TSIS to Square, right? Luckily for me, that was a lifesaver. I didn't know at the time because it was very straightforward, right? They were charging one flat rate to 2.6 plus 10, and that's what you paid, right? But when you break it down on merchant service, an actual statement with an operator, and you show them what their true blended cost is, not what the rate they're seeing, but also with the PCI compliance, the monthly, Visa, international fees, and all that, they get a little shocked, right? Because there is a formula, and it's a it's a complex formula that I feel like these credit card companies, did on purpose to make it a little harder for you to get your blended rate. They're a little surprised, but it adds up, right? Because the numbers don't lie.
Definitely, definitely. And numbers never lie. And if you look to your numbers every day, you know what you're doing, how you're moving forward. And I want to ask you about the problem, how restaurant overpay, or let's talk about the actual mechanics of the problem, because I want our operators to be able to hear this immediately and think about their own situation. If you can walk us through a typical processing statement when you're reviewing one with a restaurant owner, what are the fees that almost always surprise them?
The PCI compliance is number one, I would say. Most operators have heard about it, about their ESTs are due quarterly and so forth. Um, that's something that they're not aware they pay on, right? Any monthly fee for like equipment, right? They're just a side card, right? They just don't think about that because again they're just focusing on one number. But the biggest ones are the PCI compliance. Usually, um, it's anywhere from $39 to $69 a year monthly that they have to pay, and then these are these hidden fees and so forth, international fees. I mean, if you're in a tourist area like Miami, like URL, right? You get a lot of tourist cards from a lot of merchants, a lot of operators do not know that they have to pay extra for that international card, right? And that's part of the cost, right? They just see a number, they see that, but one easy way, y'all, we call it the back of the napkin math. Just see your total fees divided by your total what you process that month in credit cards, and you'll get an idea. And if that number is not aligned with the number they told you, you're paying more. There's hidden fees in your cost.
Amazing, amazing. And some people doesn't know their numbers, as we spoke just now. And today we have the free POS trap, which is lots of independent operator. They think they are getting a deal because they get their POS system for free. What's actually going on there? How does that math actually work out or usually work out with operators?
No, I mean, I think you and I both know, we're a little bit older, that nothing's free in life, right? And that free comes attached with the 2 year, 3 year agreement. They're gonna the SaaS. Something is gonna make up for that free hardware, right? Because nothing is free. Listen, Square offers free hardware as well with the 2 year agreement, right? But we're very transparent, and our agreement is not a contract, right? We don't do contracts with Square, and if they buy your own hardware, you have to sign anything, right? But usually the monthly SaaS is how they earn that back, right? So if they're charging you, let's say, $200 a month for the software fees, and they're signing you to a 3 year contract, right? Right there, you're talking about $2,400 a year, 12 times the 200, right? Times 3 years. That's how they make their money back on the free hardware, right? Most companies do. So I would say really dig into that. What is free? But most point of sale companies make their money back on their software fees to cover the cost of the hardware because they had to pay for it, as everyone does.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. And and I see that, or my ask today is why independent pays more because there is a real inequity here. Big chain negotiate rate, independent don't. Can you explain why the little guys often end up with the worst deal and what, if anything, they can do about it?
Yeah. So it is your right as a consumer every 91 days to ask for analysis of your processing rate to see if you can get a better rate. That's just a fact. Something you learn. So every 91 days you can add your merchant service provider, right? Um, there is a bottom line, right? Like with that at Square, $250,000 a year in processing. That's where the custom rates. But a lot of them just have to ask. Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're not going to give you a better rate than you have now. But you can shop around. As long as you're in agreement or not or contract, you can still go shop around. But most don't ask because they don't know. But it is your right as a consumer, even if you're in a contract now, an agreement, ask your merchant service if they can do better on that rate. It is your right as a consumer, as an operator, to do that every 91 days.
Amazing. If you want to give a rough benchmark for a restaurant today doing, say, $1 million in sales per year,
Yeah.
what they should realistically expect to pay in total POS and processing fees or costs, and what would be a red flag?
Yeah. So there is no one size fits all, Al. There really isn't because, again, different markets, like again, Miami. I'll focus on Miami since you're there. The tourist Amex, you can't control what the consumer is going to use, especially in a macro environment we are right now, as a tender payment, right? So
Yes.
there is not a flat $1 million in Miami is not the same as $1 million in Omaha, Nebraska, right? Because there's different types of consumers using different types of reward credit cards, right? But I would say if you're over 3% off your Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, that should be a red flag to you, right? Because depending what type of concept it is, $20 average ticket as well, over anything over 3%, you can do better, right? But again, I'm going to put a little asterisk and caveat on that one, just because if you're in a high, in an area where like South Beach, Miami, where the reward credit cards are being used because those are vacations, it might be a little higher than someone again in, I don't know, Minneapolis, Minnesota, right, where it's more, bank cards and debit cards and Chase reward cards.
Yes,
But I would say
100.
3% would be your flat line where you should start asking questions, asking for analysis with your current merchant service, or start shopping around. But you're right.
100%. I want to pause here for a minute and give our operators a perspective on what Robert just said. In my work with restaurant client, I see payment processing as part of what I call the silent prime cost. Everyone knows to watch food costs and labor. Those are those two are big, but the stuff that kills you quietly is the 3.2% you're paying to process Amex when you should paying 2.6. It's about $200 a month in POS software fees you forget you're paying. So it's a $150 lease on a terminal you could have bought it outright for 300 3 years ago. Here's the exercise I want every restaurant owner to do this week. Pull every single recurring charge related to your POS, your payment processor, your online ordering platform, your third party integration, and add them up. Divide by your monthly revenue and that your tech burden as a percentage of sales. Most operators I work with, they are on 3 to 4%, best in class under 2. Let's talk about what to do about it. Robert, let's shift back into action mode. Our listener knows a problem and let's give them a roadmap. If an operator listening today to this and they want to audit their current setup, what exactly should they be looking at and what they should ask their processor?
Um, I would start with the analysis, right? Let's be transparent now. I think you and I both know ripping and replacing your point of sale as an operator, it's the last thing you want to do. You know, I say this all the time to my junior reps and my mentees. Like, I can assure you, those 2+ years I was operating restaurants, that I did not wake up once and say, "Today's the day I'm going to change my point of sale," and have my staff revolt and so forth. Right? That was never top of
And it's
mind because
3 weeks to
there,
know where is
yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
everything.
there was always other things you had to worry about, especially on a Monday, right? But I would start with you know, see what you can do there, right? And then just evaluate what your tech stack, your point of sale stack is doing for you, right? And if it feels falling short, again, Square, Toast, Clover, Spot on whatever you may be, call that next person, schedule that demo. That's not going to cost you anything, but that's where I would start, right? Start with the easy lift, right? Which would be see if you can, if it's working for you. But if you're having just, I mean, just talking about the cost of things, but if you're having other issues with your point of sale, you should start evaluating that as well. Because if it's going down on a Friday or Saturday, that's costing you money, right? That's an X variable that you're not factoring in, and that's a problem already. So if it's just a pain point of hey, I feel like I'm paying too much, call them. I mean, they might not want to lose your business, and they might do something for you.
Definitely, definitely. And while you're talking about the platforms and all the stuff, one of the biggest opportunity I see is operators running 5 separate systems that don't talk to each other. Payment
Yeah.
here, payroll here, ordering somewhere else. What does consolidation actually save you in real dollars?
Time is money, period, right? That with anything in life, right? Unfortunately, this industry, 10 years ago, that was normal. Now, you and I, we're a little bit older. We've seen it all, right? We know that was just the way things were done, but that's not the case anymore, right? Having a complete ecosystem where a company can do the hardware, the software, and the processing like Square does, right? And having the partners to integrate to do all one dashboard, one place, a true source, just saves time, which equates back to dollars, to in putting letting you do spend more time with your family, take that vacation, or spend that time on the business where actually your expertise is needed, right? Your expertise is not needed trying to figure out why Johnny and Beth, payroll is not matching up with their tips and so forth, for that extra 30 minutes when you can be on the floor of your restaurant, interacting with your customers, your regular customers, and building that customer obsession satisfaction that most businesses want, right? So that is the bottom line. Having a complete tech stack that is unified in talking. None are perfect, right? There's no perfect system out there and so forth. But having it at least communicate and you have it at your fingertips in 2026, that should be the goal.
100%, 100%. Let me go back to when to switch and how. Let's say an operator decided their current setup isn't working. What's your honest advice on how to evaluate switching platform? You told me to speak to them, communicate with them. But today, a mom and pop, let's say it's $1 million restaurant, wanna switch. How do you do it without tanking the service for 2 weeks in order to change and move things around?
Um, Most of the cloud-based systems out there, like us at Square, we have project managers. It can all be done during off hours. We have teams that, excuse me, install overnight, so it won't disrupt service when you're down. And most of it's done off hours, right? That would be um,
Ideal.
ideal, right? Now, if you're a 24-hour place, that's where it gets a little, tricky when those diners in the Northeast, right? But you gotta look at the RO. By that time, you're making that switch, and you already seen the numbers of what it's costing you not to do it, and that's what we call the cost of doing nothing, right? So, but believe it or not, you can do a full switch within 2 to 3 weeks in off hours where you're not operating, and that
What
works for.
about what
Go
about
ahead.
shipping the equipment or getting the equipment? Is there delays? Especially we saw there some delays on some shipping previously.
Yeah, no, the pandemic obviously put a wrench in most, but even us and our competitors, everything in stock. For
Restock.
example, yeah, everything's in stock. We have two warehouses, and our for the East Coast, it's out of Tennessee. You usually get the hardware before you get the menu for most operators. Put it that way. So the hardware's there without a problem. And again, most installs are we do the site server and so forth are done within 6 to 8 hours in less than a day.
That's amazing. So let's see the data angle. And beyond cost saving, what does modern POS platform give an operator in terms of data and decision making than an old system just can't?
Flexibility. It gives you insights where you didn't have before, right? The data's there, right, at your fingertips. Especially speaking with a complete ecosystem like Square, where everything is done in house, the consumer engagement. With our sister company being Cash App, we have that consumer information, so forth. Gives you the ability to see an inside, paint a picture of a profile. It is a custom CRM built in at no additional cost, right? So, and having that literally on the Square dashboard app that you can download on your phone and view that from anytime, anywhere you have data or Wi-Fi is something that a cloud-based system offers, right? And again, we're not the only one out there, but that's what that ability of having an up-to-date, not a legacy system as we call it, right? Gives you the ability to do.
100%. You know, I'm guilty because I do use Square.
Oops.
Square for me, not because I know you and we're friend for such of time, but Square gave me the freedom, gave me what I needed to do on the go, on the run, and I know lots of places, let's say food truck, even some startup businesses that always goes and ask Square. Funny thing, out of the topic, my son is opening a new coffee concept, and he's opening in his university in Tallahassee. The first thing yesterday night, he tells me, "Hey, Dad," I said, "Yes. Can you get me Square?" He didn't say POS system. He didn't say anything. 20 years old, startup. He wanna get directly Square, and that's what is good. And during the show, as we spoke about the dashboard. Square launched this dashboard, and how is
Manager
it
bot,
going?
the manager
Yes,
bot. Yes,
yes,
yeah. So manager bot is if for most people who don't know, and trust me, I'm not the most tech savvy person either. Manager bot is what we would consider internally for all our Square sellers. Sellers are merchants at Square. Is imagine a chat GPT on your dashboard to run your business. Um, it's been amazing. That's all I can say. And, for anyone that that wants to look at it, we can do a demo and show you. It can run report. It can you ask it questions. It's a machine learning tool inside your dashboard that obviously when you're working with Square, it starts to learn your business and you can ask it questions like labor versus sales, where to cut hours, food costs, you name it. The more you interact with it, the more it learns from you and gives you suggestions on a daily, weekly basis. But I will say that it has probably been one of our best feature launches in the last 10 years at Square.
Yes, and honestly, I'm using it with my clients, and
How's it going for you?
also,
I mean,
it's amazing. It's amazing. I have it on my phone, and I have my customer login on my phone. So even though I'm driving, and Brian sent me, "Hey Al, what happened yesterday? Did you see the sales? Did you see this one?" I said, "Hey, look, you had too much void, too much. What happened here?" So it's communicating. Plus the bot itself, it gives you direct indication. You can chat and you can put it in with this AI era we in. It's amazing. All
and
right, Robert.
that's a
Yes.
goal. Let's go and just to piggyback off that. Like again, that flexibility, the freedom, giving you time back to spend time like with your son before he goes back to school. That's what a tech stack should do for you.
Hundred
Not
percent, hundred
trying to
percent.
figure
I
out
agree.
hours.
Yes. All right, we're going to do a quick rapid fire round. Short question, straight
Okay.
answer. All right, ready?
First thing that comes to mind. All right.
Yes. Biggest mass restaurant owner believe about payment processing.
Biggest myth. There is a one size fits all. There isn't. Sometimes it takes a little bit. You can't put everything in one cube, one square. No pun intended.
One thing every independent restaurant should do this week to start saving money on their tax stack. Tax stack.
Um, Ask for analysis of your state of your processing rate. It, don't be afraid. Just ask them. It doesn't matter if it's your cousin or your merchant service rep. Ask them if they can lower your rate. It is your right.
Amazing. Biggest red flag that tells you a restaurant is overpaying before you even look at their statement.
Yeah. I would say not knowing their rate, not knowing their rate. If you can't tell me your processing rate or what your or even your wastage, right? When it comes to food, I think it's a form report. I take that one really personal. But if you don't know what you're actually paying, if you can't look at your statement, give me your rate, then that's a problem.
Definitely. Where does restaurant payment technology go in 3 years from now? What should operators should be watching?
Just if you don't have the flexibility like you were talking about, Al, if you don't have a tech stack that you at your fingertips can look at the numbers and see anywhere you're at, that's where you need to be, right? 3 years from now, I mean, I think it's going to be even better than it is now. It's going to be seamless. It's going to be automated, and that's the goal, right? But you'll still have control.
Amazing. So we'll put the link in the chat when we post this event. But Robert, for any operator who wants to learn more about what Square can do for them, or just want to start an audit conversation, where do they find you?
Yeah, I can share my email with you, Robert Corral. You can find me on LinkedIn or R Corral, Corral at squareup.com. But yeah, more than glad I can share that, or just squareup.com. Someone will
And
reach out to you as well.
your phone number
Yep.
is 1-800 Robert.
No, no. I can share that as well. I mean, we have
Yes.
multiple numbers, but yeah, I mean, listen,
We can
I
share
have
it in the chat.
yeah, yeah, I have great
So
colleagues, and just feel free to reach out to us. But I mean, also feel free to reach out to other competitors, right? I as a consultant on the side, I advise you look at both. That way you can compare apples to apples, right?
100%. Robert, has been exactly the kind of conversation I built this show to have. Practical, specific, and immediatable, actionable, which all restaurant owner really needs. For everyone listening, the takeaway from today is simple. Your POS and payment processing costs are not fixed; they are negotiable. As Robert said, call your vendor, call your rep, and ask them. They are auditable. Every 90 days, you can ask them what to do and what your rate is. And for most of you, there is real money sitting on that statement every month that belong to your pocket, not to your process. If you want help during the audit, you want our opinion, please reach out to us, and that's exactly what we do here. Also, I do work through my 90-day profitability restoration program, and these posts are limited. We're going live in a couple of days on July 22nd. I hope Robert will be here. We'll be doing it in Miami. Link will be included. Robert, I want to thank you again, and to every operator out there, keep your table full and your margin healthy. Robert, do you want to close or do you want to have
No,
anything?
no, Al, thank you again. Great seeing you. Sure we'll talk, and yeah, I'll be seeing you soon here down in Miami. But again, y'all, just keep in mind, just ask questions, right? If you feel like something doesn't feel right, ask questions, and if it again you don't get the answer you want, then start asking questions somewhere else. That's the best way to go about it.
There is no wrong questions. All questions are questions. At the end of the day, you are restaurant owner, your operator, your customers ask you questions. Your customer demand from you clarification and explanation of what you're serving. Today is your day. Ask your tax, whoever is your POS system, your processor, your payroll. Ask them for a break. Ask them for a discount. Ask them to renegotiate the rate. Nothing is set stone, nothing is booked. Audit your operation. If you need our help, we're here, myself and Robert, all the time. We'll have Robert details in the chat, and we're looking forward to see you again. Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you guys. Thank you all.
Cheers.
Have a good day.